Jonas, high school student, now resides on a North Sea island with his grandfather following the terrible deaths of his parents. It's the season of fresh starts and first loves. Jonas' world is dramatically turned upside down by Helena, a new German language instructor. She appreciates and supports his writing abilities, and she makes use of their mutual trust to develop a close bond with him. Jonas, meanwhile, is unaware that Helena is working on a terrible scheme. Before we begin, we kindly ask that you like and comment on the video since this will allow us to expand our niche. I am going to explain drama, mystery, thriller German movie released in 2021. In the opening scene of the movie, a woman is using a binocular to see a weeping bird when she suddenly finds herself being pursued by a dog. She tries to flee but is unable to do so. She was bit and pulled by the dog while she screamed for assistance. The following scene shows a teenager named Jonas and his grandfather Friedrich attending a funeral as a distant bell is tolling and gloomy music is playing. It is made clear that there are problems in the father-grandfather bond of Jonas. During a 4-month period, while driving along a deserted road, when a dark car moving at a high rate of speed strikes Jonas' parents, their car crashes into a tree, quickly killing both of them. After his painful ordeal during his parents' burial, Nina is keeping an eye on his friend. She runs over as Jonas starts to sob and gives him a sympathetic embrace to comfort him. After her parents' burial, Nina finds out from the waitress who brought beverages for them that Jonas would live in Bavaria. During their conversation, a guy approached Jonas and Nina and identified himself as Friedrich Hansen, Jonas's grandfather. He apologizes for not being a decent grandfather and gives an invitation to Jonas to reside at his house till he is 18. Jonas says yes. Nina is happy that Jonas will be there with her. A writer is what Jonas wants to be. Jonas spends his days riding his bike around the island with his friends, such as Nina, Mercedes Muller, whom he is also thinking about getting romantically involved with. The following day at school, after a year, students chattering indistinctly as they get ready for their class. In front of the entire class, the new gorgeous teacher astounds Jonas. The students were then instructed to follow her as she led the group to the shore. "I'm Helena Jung, your new German teacher, and Mr. Meinecke was involved in an accident in Mallorca." She then asks everyone to take a walk and celebrate life as she concludes her speech. Later in the day, Helena invites a handful of the boys to her new home so they may assist her in putting together her clothing. As Nina, who was nearby, overhears this, she sees how happy the guys are and offers to help as well. When the three of them get at Helena's house, Helena isolates Nina from her friends and burdens her with more work, but Nina begins to think that something is amiss and hunts for evidence in the storm. When Helena unexpectedly appears, Nina avoids her and says she was seeking for a piece of wood. Soon later, Nina's damaged leg starts bleeding, so she head home with Florian. Jonas also heads out. When Jonas and the others leave, there is a turn, and we see Helena burning a significant number of Jonah-related photos. But why does Helena own these pictures? What is it that Helena is concealing? The next morning when Helena runs into Jonah, he admits that he likes to write poetry. Helena gives each pupil that day at school the assignment of writing a poem. Jonas has the chance to demonstrate his abilities while having dinner in the evening. Nina goes to the Jonas house to try to convince Friedrich. Despite Jonas's writing talent, Jonas' grandfather believes that a writer has no future because Friedrich, who disapproved of the poem, concluded that it contained nothing. A writer's career was something that Jonas' father likewise aspired to. The next day after school, Helena personally invites Jonas, stating she would want to read all of his poetry with him. That evening, Jonas took all his poem and rode on his bicycle to Helena's home. She then invites him in. He discovers Helena naked and getting ready for a bath. While Helena continues to cry while reading the poetry, Jonas gives her a kiss. He is welcomed by Helena, and they both decide to spend the evening in this way. The next morning, Jonas and Helena ride their bicycles to school. But Nina sees them from behind a bush. Nina's school classmate Jewel begins to have doubts about Jonas and Helena's relationship. After school, Jonas accompanies Nina to his parents' house with the purpose of selling it, but instead he holds Nina and sobs because he misses being a young man, and the two of them start kissing. Nina makes a commitment to never leave Jonas. Friedrich is then invited as a special visitor to the 50th anniversary of Jonas' school because he previously served as its principal. Helena is also present, and she is looking fiercely at Friedrich. When Frederick's eyes contact Helena's, he loses consciousness, but when Nina realizes that Hermes is beginning to grow, Friedrich regains it. Because of the infernal wrath she saw in Friedrich's eyes, Nina assumes that he and Helena's are acquainted when she runs into Jonas later that day and tells him about the school. All of this strikes Jonas as ludicrous, and he ignores it. This infuriates Nina, who walks out the door with Jonas. The next morning when Jonah wakes up, Helena is already in his bed. Helena gets dressed and leaves her house before anyone can see her, although Nina witnesses him leaving Jonah's house and is convinced of her suspicions. Nina reportedly attends school straight away, and Jewel finds out about Helena and Jonah's romance from Nina. Then Jewel narrates a lengthy narrative about being taught by a teacher who looked a lot like Helena years ago when Jewel's father was a student. Nina is the brain behind the old-school yearbooks, and she believes that they contain a lot of secrets. When she approaches the school librarian to inquire about the yearbooks, Helene also pays attention to her. As Jonas arrives at school at the same moment, Jewel loudly proclaims that she is in the library and dashes over to meet her. In the 1985 yearbook, Nina finds a picture of a woman who looks exactly like Helena. When Helena shows up, she chokes Nina, then hides the body and dumps it in the library. Jonas visits the library to look for Nina. Helena tells him a falsehood about Nina having to leave for home and then puts Nina's body, which has been wrapped in a cloth, in her van. She then leaves Nina's body far-off location near the sea. The next evening, Jonas searched all over for her but was unable to locate her. When he gets back home, he tries to call Nina, but the phone is off. He receives a visit from Helena, who claims that Nina is somewhere riding her bicycle and is jealous of both her and Jonah's connection. Helena gives Jonas some wine. As Helena tries to depart, she proclaims that she will only be friends going ahead. However, Jonas takes her hand and kisses her. In the early hours of the morning, Helena and Jonas perform their typical action together. As Jonas goes to his house, he finds Friedrich waiting for him. They take him along and know about Jonah's affair, but Jonas has lost interest. The next morning, after learning that Nina's body has been found, Jonas meets his buddies and Nina's mother at the beach. Then, however, Friedrich faints and the scene changes to Florian and Jonas in the school library looking for evidence. When Jewel enters the room, the males ask her what she told Nina. She claims that the photo is from a yearbook published between 1984 and 1988. Jonas discovered that the page must have been ripped out by someone. The trio pedaled their bicycles to the school's computer lab, where they unlocked ancient computer files. The body of former German instructor Maria Roth was reportedly discovered in the ocean on the major beach. She drowned, according to rescuers, but it is unknown if it was because of someone else's carelessness. Helena notifies the woman at the hospital entrance that she is Maria Roth Friedrich's daughter while giving them a furious expression. Helena has joined Friedrich in the hospital so that she can carry out her retribution strategy. When Friedrich finally opened his eyes, he was startled to see Helena seated by his side. Friedrich tries to make a call for help, but he is unable to do so because he bit his tongue so severely when he fell. When standing next to Friedrich, Helena says, "My mother was madly in love with you, but you abandoned her after finding that she was having a child. I recall what occurred as if it were yesterday." Although Maria cherished Friedrich, but he prized his independence and steadfastly refused to have children outside of marriage. Helena admits that she was in the fast-moving car that hit Jonah's parents, causing their car to crash into a tree and instantly killing both of them. She continued by saying that Jonas is the only person remaining and that she had to exact revenge for her mother's death. After Jonah gets back home, he passes out on the couch and is awakened the next morning by a knock at the door. Helena was the one to bring his grandfather home when the doctor gave the all-clear. As a result, Friedrich has moved into the living room, and Jonas then asks Helena a question. Helena asks Jonas to pick his call, promises to tell him the entire tale as she goes inside to get them coffee. She puts some white powder to Jonas's slop. Because Helena had previously witnessed his mother's passing, she placed Friedrich's bed in front of the window so he might observe Jonas's predicament. A small amount of coffee is consumed by Jonah after she tells Jonas about her mother, which causes her body to malfunction. Helena gets sidetracked from her plot to drown Jonas in the pond when she hears something rumbling from the Jonas house. As soon as Jonas notices that his grandfather has fallen off the bed, he leaves the pond and goes inside the house, but Helena shows up not long after and starts to fight Jonas. She pushed Jonas down to the floor, tries to strangle him to death. The picture stops as Jonas strikes her in the chest with a shard of glass. The movie finishes with Jonas picking up a piece of glass and slamming it into her chest.